Hi, my name's Emma and let's talk spooky stuff. Hi friends, welcome back. I am very excited because today we're going to watch Orphan First Kill. This is the prequel to the 2009 film Orphan, and I am going to spoil Orphan because I kind of have to for this prequel because there is a reveal in that film that's pretty epic. So if you haven't seen it, please go watch it now and stop watching this video because we need to kind of talk about it or discuss it. I'm going to do a little bit of a recap before we jump into the film today. I just rewatched Orphan like right now just to get back into that headspace, and I'm really excited to check this new one out. The original film stars Isabel Fuhrman and Vera Farmiga, and it's about a family with two kids who adopt another child after they have a stillbirth. When they go to the orphanage to adopt a child, they want to adopt a child who's a little bit older, and they have this instant magnetic connection with this little girl, Esther. And then, of course, Esther terrorizes them and their family, killing the nun who was the main point of contact for the orphanage because she's getting close to the truth. And it becomes this weird kind of situation where the mother knows that something is wrong with Esther, but no one else wants to believe it. And then her kids that she already had, her son hates Esther, but her daughter has this real bond with her, having an older sister. But soon that twists when they both witness some murderous tendencies, some violence, and they both become scared of her, and they work together with the mum to kind of take her down. And the father, if you forgot, he is awful in this film. But then like Esther comes onto him, and it's just like this huge mess. And the mother finally puts together all of the clues and finds out that Esther is not from an orphanage overseas. In fact, she is from a psychiatric hospital, and she is not a child, but an adult woman. So that's the reveal. It's pretty epic. It's really creepy. Isabel Fuhrman, who obviously was a child playing this role, just amazing. Knocked it out of the park. And there are rumors as well, if you do want to look into it, that this is based on a true story, because there is a very similar eerie story that was talked about kind of the same time of the release of the film. So it's not necessarily connected, but it's eerily similar. But the film ends with Esther being kicked in the face by the mum. "I am not your mummy!" Kicks her out into the ice, where she slides down a break in the pond into the icy water, and that's the end. It's a very strange ending for this film. I didn't really remember it being like that, and I've seen it several times, but it just kind of ends. I actually went back and watched the ending, the last 15 seconds, about 4 times to try and see if there's like a hand that comes out of the water, but there's nothing like that. There's no signal to that she's alive. So unlike what we're used to with horror, they didn't go for this sequel where she climbs out of the ice and she's fine. They did go for the prequel with this film. The other thing I have seen, the only thing I've seen, I have not seen the trailer for this new one, which makes me so excited because I have no idea what I'm in store for. I have seen some of the posters that have the same coloring as some drawings that she draws in the original film, and just to jog your memory, she paints and she's quite artistic, and she does these pictures that look really wholesome or just normal, and then when she uses a black light, they show like people dying and, you know, just all the violence and gore and creepy kid picture horror movie stuff. So I feel like that could come back into this one because I have seen posters with the same kind of lighting, the black light kind of look. The film is out now in cinemas in America. It's also on Paramount Plus, streaming at the same time if you'd like to watch it from home. And it's also on other rental platforms. I saw it was on Vudu, it's on Amazon, all those places, Google Play. If you want to rent it, it is a little bit expensive. It's like 24 bucks. So it is quite expensive. But for me, I really want to watch this now. I could wait another week when it's out in Australian cinemas, but I've chosen to rent it online today because I cannot wait. And once I'm given the choice, because I haven't been given the choice for a lot of films recently, such as Bodies, 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 which isn't out until next month for me, I want to take it and I want to watch a new horror movie. I'm very excited to see what happens with Esther, and I haven't watched this new film yet, obviously, but I highly recommend to get yourself in the mood for it, to go back and watch the original one because it's a pretty good film. I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10. So I'm really excited to see how they do this because obviously Isabel Fuhrman has aged since the first film, and if this is meant to be a prequel, she's meant to be younger, but I don't know, I'm just very cautious about how they did this, and I really have not seen anyone's reaction, so I don't know if it's good. I've seen people go to see it, but I didn't want to listen to their reaction. I've just seen that they've seen it, so I'm very keen. So I'm going to let you know whether you should go see this at the cinema or whether it's okay to watch it at home. We'll talk about the scare factor, originality factor, and all that good stuff without spoiling anything. let's go get cozy on the couch and watch Orphan First Kill. I have to say that title. It's killing me with the Halloween kills. I keep calling it Orphan Kills, so excuse me if I do say that in this video. My poor little brain. Okay, let's go. That was so interesting, and in a positive way, for sure positive. This film, I have so many thoughts. I thought it'd be quite straightforward, but there's so many interesting aspects to this being a prequel. Wild. So first off, the film is very strange that it's titled Orphan First Kill because it isn't the first kill. And you find this out in the first couple of moments. It starts in the psych ward, which we learn about in the first film. And I was kind of upset about this because I wanted to know how Esther came to be how she is. And I wanted to know about her origin story. That's what prequels usually are. So I was kind of upset to not see that, and I understand because of the way the last one ended that they had to do a prequel in that regard because obviously she died, but I don't know, I think it would be more believable if she just like crawled out at the end and she went on to a new family, because the majority of this film is featured around her interactions with a new family instead of her how she became who she is, and a lot more information about herself. It's just about her before she, you know, went to the family we see in the first one. But again, we don't know when her first kill was, and you have to assume, because it opens up to her being in this ward, that she has killed before. She is so brutal. Surprisingly, I think they did really well with the way Isabel Fuhrman looks. Obviously, they exaggerate the height difference, and I think everyone's seen the behind the scenes photos of them wearing like platform boots to show the height difference between her and other actors. But I did notice a lot of times, like sometimes she went up to a bench and she was really trying to like reach over it to like grab items, and I feel like they over exaggerated it in points to kind of fool the audience, but in ways that when they were framing up the original story, because she was a child in that, they wouldn't have done any of that. They would just make it look good, like frame her in particular ways that makes it look more appealing, where in this film I felt, especially at the start, they were trying to hide her face or really emphasizing how small she was. They also have a couple of really short POV shots where it's her looking up at someone. So again, exaggerating how short she is or how little she is. But in a way, because we know the twist that she is really an older person, this does something that no other prequel can do. You're meant to know now from after the reveal of the last film that she is older. So if she looks older in this one, it kind of works, but she definitely looks different to the first one. And I think issue that they probably could have avoided is making her dress exactly the same. They give her like the pigtails, and of course she has like the straps, but if they had just made her have a little bit of a different aesthetic, but it wouldn't be so easy to compare the two. I had so many thoughts about the way she was presented in this, but as it went on, I totally forgot about it, and I think they did really, really well. It just shows how good the technology is now. Obviously using some like deep fake technology to make her look a little bit younger. I know the technical term is definitely not deep fake, but you know what I mean. This one was directed by William Brent Bell, who is a bit hit and miss. He did The Boy, which I really like, The Devil Inside, and Separation, but I really appreciate what he brings to horror. Even if it doesn't hit exactly every time, just like The Separation, you need to watch that movie. It's like it's almost great, but also completely terrible at the same time. And I think at least he goes for interesting storylines instead of just completely typical. And that's what I have to say about this film. It follows all of the tent poles, and it really does feel like a 2000s film. And it feels so much like the original because it just feels like it's hitting all the same things. There's the stereotypical creepy kid drawings, which art plays a big part and a big role in this film. And then there's also like the psych ward that has like really basic 2000s aesthetics, like very stereotypical. But this film, although it's like the first one, it's like that in positive ways also. I just want to say, because we're keeping this spoiler free, that there is a lot to spoil in this film. So I would urge you to watch it as soon as possible, because there's some really fun aspects in it that it just feels like that first time you get to see a 2000s film that has like something a little bit different to it. And it just carries that feel, especially because I did not mention before, Julia Stiles is in this film. She's the mother of the new family. And Julia Stiles in horror, it just gives me a throwback to The Omen, the remake. So it really does feel like a 2000s film. And also the way it looks, it has that same glary filter but in this one it's very exaggerated because it's meant to be in a cooler climate like the original one. It's meant to feel cold and unnerving, and I feel like they take it a little bit too far with the cinematography in this, or just the filter and color grading over the top. So much so it feels black and white at points because there's no saturation at all, and they really suck all of the life out of the shots. And yeah, just this huge kind of glare on it, which maybe disguises some of, again, Isabel Fuhrman's looks. Yeah, I felt it was a little bit distracting at points, and I was wondering what they were trying to kind of say with that. But it does feel like this muted glare, which makes me feel even more like it's like a 2000s horror, which I love. I know some people wouldn't, but I know a lot of you who watch my channel also like have a fond memory of this time in horror, and this is really a callback to that. So that's why it's a really fun movie in that regard, and it does have some fun surprises for sure. But the film is not perfect, even though it has a fun idea, and I understand why Isabel Fuhrman would have signed on for this. It has some really jarring aspects, just like the cinematography we're talking about, but also the music. They play Interpol Evil. Love the song, but it's at the most random moment, and they have one other like well-known hit in the film, but it does not fit the style, the theme, the tone of anything. It's just the most bizarre transitional shot with having that kind of music. And I know that song very well, and I feel like it's even sped up. Let me know if anyone else catches that. It feels like it's a tinge like sped up, like 2 points, you know? And it's just a bizarre shot because everything else is like sound beds and theatrical, and that just does not match it. It's trying to be like edgy, but in a way maybe it does suit it because it is like a 2000s kind of song and it suits the era. I also noticed they were using things like iPods, and they had one point they had a Mac, like a MacBook. I was trying to see what kind of model it was because they have a lot of technology that suits that time. The film itself is a very unbelievable story, or just the way it's presented. It's so far-fetched that you kind of laugh and have fun like watching it. I feel like it's a deeply satisfying film that's fun. There's definitely some really cheesy moments, especially towards the end. But if you can look through all of that and appreciate it as a callback and something that fans would have never have gotten from this, I mean, it's not a franchise, but from the original Orphan film, it really does work. Definitely not as good as the first one, but it is a pretty good follow-up years later. I mean, we had, you know, obviously the remake of The Ring 2, it didn't feel anything similar to the first one, where this one, it kind of plays off the same tonal aspects, except for the music. I really do think it delivers it very well for over 10 years later. Like, good job to them. I will say as well, it's worth rewatching the first film before you watch this one, because there are a lot of direct tie-ins that I wouldn't have picked up. Yeah, just little aspects and symbols that have a lot to do with what happens in the first one, coming from things that happen in this one. So yeah, I really highly recommend rewatching that, and that's got to do with like the painting, as we said, was on the poster. Things like that. There's a little bit more. I don't want to spoil anything, but it is definitely worth rewatching that one to get the most out of this one. And if someone watched this who hadn't seen the first one, they definitely wouldn't enjoy it as much, because it does already feel very random and strange. Again, peak 2000s. There's not a lot of context. There's not a lot of like deep tones. So it would feel a bit jarring, but again, it's just a fun movie. I wouldn't take it too seriously at all. The movie does have a lot of gore in it, and pretty well done, I would say. So it is like a really interesting slasher that I really hope you enjoy. I would say I enjoyed watching this at home. But I mean, it is a gloomy like winter's day here. It was raining just before when I was watching it, so obviously it depends on your setup, but I would say this one is fine to watch streaming at home. I don't think there's a problem with that. There's nothing so epic that it needs to be in the cinema, but of course it's always better to watch films in the cinema, less distractions, and obviously huge screen, and it's a nice environment. So if you can get to the cinema, totally go for that, but I don't think it's a need to. I really don't. I think if you are able to stream it, especially on Paramount, why not? And I do really recommend it for anyone who loves 2000s horror and anyone who liked the original film. But my recommendation is to do a back-to-back double feature. For personal score, I am going to give it a 6. I kind of go in between 6 and 7 because I did really enjoy watching it and thought it was really good, but it doesn't really make any sense as a standalone film. So for that, I am going to give it a 6 because I rated the last one a 7. So the first one a 7, and the first one just works on all accounts. And the twist in that one is just so good. So I do think it's really fun, but I think a lot of the reasons I like this film is based on nostalgia for me and liking that 2000s look. I don't know how that would hold up for everybody. I mean, it is 2022, but I do feel like it's above average, which is a 5, and I feel positively about the film. For scare, I'm going to give it a 6. I don't think it's scary, as I always say, just very violent. This is a very violent film. Would not recommend to anyone young. And for originality, gosh, I can't wait until you all see this. And this is why I tell you got to go watch it fast because there's some fun aspects in it. I will say that. And so I'm going to give it a 6 for that. I think that the aspects have been done before, but I still think that they worked really well in this setting. That was Orphan First Kill. Not the first kill though. I'm still waiting for the first kill. I really hope this does well and that they go back and they make a prequel to the prequel because I want to find out who the heck she was, and that was really upsetting for me that that film was not about that at all. But I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Let me know, are you watching Orphan First Kill? Did this convince you? Do you think you'll like it? And if you have seen it, let me know what you thought down below. Just write spoiler at the top of your comments so people can avoid it if needed. And thank you so much for being here. If you'd like to subscribe, I'd love to have you here. Every single week I do 2 videos talking about horror movies, talking about thrillers, giving you a lot to watch and letting you know what's worth your time. Until next time, I'm on TikTok and Instagram, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.